So in this video we're reviewing the BMW S1000XR. Now BMW have built this one as a mix between a sports bike and a tourer bike, much like my adventure bike. Very, very first impressions, because this is a 4-cylinder bike generating 160 brake horsepower. It's 206 kilos, which is considerably a lot lighter than my bike. My adventure is 263 kilos, so you can imagine that it's almost 60 kilos lighter than my bike. I must say that I like the seating position. Having come from an adventure bike, the seating position is just as pleasing actually. I would say on my adventure I'm slightly leaning forward, as opposed to this one. It doesn't feel like I'm leaning forward at all. It feels like I'm in a sit up and beg position. And the seat is comfortable. I kind of feel as though I'm in the bike. Now on my adventure I feel as though I'm in it but more on it. This one I feel that I'm in it. I can grip the tank with my knees really easily, and the seating position lends itself to me doing that without even thinking about doing that. The smoothness of the 4-cylinder engine is immense. I've only done about a mile so far on this, and although I think my adventure, being an opposed twin, is really smooth, actually this 4-cylinder, it just purrs, and it's really, really smooth, really smooth. As with BMW, with all of their bikes, all of their switch gear is really, really pronounced. It's really defined, and when you press or select any of the features like indicators, lights, heated grips, they are really, really pronounced and give you a real good feedback when you press it, so you know you truly have pressed it. The width of the bars, it feels very comfortable. They feel at about just past shoulder width, I'd guess, which is quite a comfortable position for me to be riding in. And all of the instrument display in front of me is really, really clear. I'm not sure personally that I like that much having the white rev counter dial, but that's, I guess, down to personal preference. But what I do like, and I really wish that they'd bring across the board in BMW, is having a digital speedo display, so you know exactly what you're doing, but you can see it digitally. And really there's no reason for me wanting that. It's just a personal preference. I've had quite a flare, and I find it just easier. It's just more accurate rather than relying on a needle and the position that you're at. Looking at the needle, you could misconstrue some of those figures and be, you know, a few miles out and then attract a speeding fine, which is not great. I'd say that it's very comfortable. I'm not getting much hunting. We're doing 26, 27 miles an hour here because it's a 30 limit, and I'm in 4th gear, and there's no hunting. It doesn't feel like the bike is hunting and causing those sort of imbalancing issues that sometimes people had on the older GSs and GS Adventures. The visibility via the mirrors is good, and I just feel really comfortable on it. Really, really comfortable riding this bike. Now I've been riding GSs and Adventures for a good 2.5, 3 years now, and for me that is the bike. I'm not interested in getting other bikes. I'm really happy with the bike that I've got, and it's not something that I'm looking to change. However, I think for a hack of a bike, or a bike that you can take it out and just have a bit of fun, I really do think that this could fit the bill. I love the tone of the engine. It's just got that meaty, throaty rumble and roar to it as you're riding along, just giving you the impression that should you need a bit of power, there's loads of it there, and we know that because it's got 160 brake horsepower. I'm in fourth, doing 29 miles an hour because it's the 30 limit, and I can feel through the bars a slight buzz. Now I know that on forums across the internet talking about the Euro 3, which this is, having some buzzing on the bars, and I understand that on the Euro 4, on the 2017 model, that BMW have eliminated this by using some technologies that those magicians have put together to put on the new bike. So when the 2017 comes into Ocean BMW, I'm sure that we'll be able to get out and do a bit of a comparison video, but I don't think it'll be much of an issue. Wow, something that I've noticed, because we've stopped so that we can have a look around the bike, is, I'm not sure whether you can see that, is the tiny little stand that comes with it, the side stand. Now on my Adventure, you kick it out and it's almost on the floor before you put it down, and it's got some sort of mechanism that allows the bike to lean over into the stand. This one, I should imagine, what a weird feeling of dropping it so far over onto the side. I like the look, the meanness of these lights, and I presume that's an LED strip through the middle, but it looks really mean and really meaty. And you can see that you've got the gold forks here, which add just a little bit of class, I think. But behind it, how big is that radiator? Now it's right, you see where it's got all the dirt on there? I'd imagine that a lot of stuff gets kicked up through there. So if I was buying one, I think that the first thing that I'd invest in is some sort of radiator protection, because if you lose your radiator, that's kind of it. And I just love the styling. Really, really like this styling. I like these bits of fairing on the side. I like the way it looks. I'm not too dispassionate about the grey. It's almost like a metallic-y grey, but with the white and the red and the black strips, it really makes it look something special. Tiny wheels. I'm not used to such a small wheel on the front. And the only thing that I'm not in love with on the bike is having a chain. Now, one of the reasons that I have an Adventure, not only is it such a great bike, but it's got a drive shaft, which means that I've got hardly any maintenance at all. Whereas on this one, they've gone for the chain system, which, you know, it's a chalk and cheese thing. There's lots of people out there that would rather have a chain than a shaft drive bike. And that's totally fine, because with motorbikes, there is a motorbike for everybody. I really love that seating position, and you can see where the seat is, how much you sit actually in the bike. And it's quite a comfy seat, so your bottom's kind of held in there, and you kind of feel at one with the bike. I can see what they've done. They've kind of given you an experience where you're sitting in the bike, you feel part of it. Now, I've ridden some bikes like the RTs and other marks of bike, and some of them I've got a feeling that I'm actually sat on the bike as opposed to in the bike. And sometimes when you're sat on the bike, it kind of gives you a bit of a disparity from being part of the bike. And I think with any bike that you ride, you need to kind of feel part of it in order to get the maximum experience, but also the maximum control. Now, all the switch gear is exactly the same as most of the other BMW bikes. It's quite a pleasing aesthetic view that you get when you're riding the bike. As I said, the visibility all round is really quite nice. It almost looks as though it's going to be quite easy to get in to change the bulbs as well, because there's some RT owners and other owners of different bikes will know how difficult it is just to do simple things like changing a light bulb, which is really, really difficult. Now, this model has got a key, quite unconventional that you've got a key that you've got to turn, but when you do start the bike up, you get a pretty good and quite a nice jazzy feel to the bike that it's powering up. You've got different modes. The mode you're in is indicated by a little dot that appears there. So I've got it in road at the moment. Good visibility of what speed you're doing, also a gear indicator which is good, and a fuel gauge here, which is just under half a tank, which is great. You've got your heated grips up the top, and you can see that changing from heated for 1, 2, off, and then 1, 2, and then 1. I guess that's the temperature of the bike. It's saying 73 degrees, and I can guarantee it's not 73 degrees centigrade here. You've got your range of miles, 76, and then your time. Now, if you were using your indicators, get a clear notification that the indicator's on both sides, and you also get hazard switch as well, which is good. All in all, the instrument cluster, I feel, is really quite informative. It's right there, it's right at you, and obviously BMW have thought about these things. They've even thought about this. Now, this is plastic. It's not hard, brittle plastic, but you can see that it would mark quite easily, but that's stopping anything on your jacket, any sharp bits, from actually scratching the tank, which has got to be a good thing, because we all like to keep our bikes in pristine condition. Also a massive rubber thing around here, rubber gate around here. We've also got a plastic trim around here, which actually goes neatly into the plastic trim that's around the side of the bike, and I guess that's just to stop your keys from scratching. And you've got the wheel there that you can use to toggle in and out of different settings within your sat-nav. And in a later video we'll be doing a review of the Navigator 5. Now, this bike's got a screen. Now, you may ask how you adjust it, but it's literally nothing more than a bit of brute force to pull it up and push it down. Now, I'm kind of guessing, because I've had this screen in the upright position, and that kind of suits me at the moment, although I haven't done very many miles on it. That kind of suits where I need it to be. But it kind of feels a little bit tacky that you have to use brute force in order to put the visor down, or put the screen down. I would have thought that having a knob or something like on the Adventures and the GS is just a turn, because it's either up or it's down, which I think is good in some ways, but for the rider's comfort perspective, to be able to adjust it to their liking would be a little bit better. I do like the styling. It looks mean, but you know by that badge that you've got quality. What I do like about this one is they've thought a little bit more about the cleanliness of the bike. Now, we all like to keep our bikes clean, and this one has got, within the frame of the bike, quite a long fender extender or hugger, whatever you want to call it, on the back. There is a little bit of dirt up here, but I would imagine, even though it's still going to get dirty, you're not going to get that dirty as a rider. Even just going into first gear, you do get a tiny clunk, but nothing worth writing home about. And the clutch bite is literally, it is so close, giving you the real feel that you're in control. Just go up to 30 and throttle off. There's no jerkiness, it's so smooth. And certainly as a rider you feel, I think BMW have managed to make you feel like you're at one with the bike, and I never ever thought that I would feel like that about another bike, because the bike that I usually ride, as you all know, is a 1200 GS Adventure, and it does everything that I need. But this is just so agile. I mean, 206 kilos. You know, it's just agile. The responsiveness is just there. It's just, I'd say that they've really hit the nail on the head with this bike. It's going to appeal, I would say, to bikers that want to have a bike that has got the power, that has got the smoothness of a 4-cylinder with good performance, a nice agile bike, and it's got the ability for you to chuck on some panniers and go off and tour. The seat, although incredibly thin, is really, really quite comfortable, and I don't feel that this bike is wanting anything from me. And I know that sounds really weird, but it gives me the true feeling that I can concentrate on the road. Wow. Wow, that is just absolutely immense. Now, there's nobody behind me, which is good, because I'm going to just drop it down to second gear and we're going to go along without touching the clutch. So hands off the handlebars, into third gear, into fourth gear, up into fifth, up into sixth. There's just no movement of the bike at all. Absolutely none whatsoever. I do find the gearbox not clunky, that's the wrong word. I find it a little bit spongy. Especially going into, only spongy when I'm going into first gear. But oh my gosh, this bike, it just rides so well. So first impressions for me, one, what a bike, and two, wow, it's really surprised me. I didn't for 1 second think that I would be riding this bike thinking I could live with this, but if ever I had enough money that I would be able to have two bikes, one for kind of work and dirty stuff and going out and getting around and doing a bit of touring, and then a bike for, you know, just a bit of fun, then it would be this one. And I must give a big shout out to Ocean BMW. There is no sponsorship of this video, but Ocean BMW at Falmouth, and Greg in particular, has been good enough to allow me to take this bike out, have a look at it, do a bit of a review on it so that you guys can see what it's all about and get it from a perspective of an adventure rider. If you've liked this video, remember to give us a thumbs up, it really does help us, and subscribe, click that subscribe. You could even become a super subscriber by clicking the little bell icon next to the subscribe button, so every time we have a hot new video that comes out, you'll be alerted to it and you won't miss any of the fun.